So who's worse, Tucker Carlson or Nick Fuentes? On one hand, it's hard to top Nick Fuentes. He's like a Nazi sympathizer and such. And it's hard to top that. On the other hand, I'm more offended by Tucker Carlson, and I'll explain why. I think Tucker is more of a liar. Tucker lies a lot more. Nick Fuentes, although he's, I guess, a classic anti-Semite, you could say, and a lot of just spreading hate in a lot of different directions, he's more sticking to the facts and has his own twisted view of the world, twisted view of Jews, twisted view of the world, and a lot of what he says is just in order to get attention. He just loves saying what you're not allowed to say, which I'll address a lot of his comments also. But overall, I feel like you're talking about someone who respects what he says. He's consistent for the most part with what he says. And you could see him, he has a worldview, which I'll get into, but he is sticking to it, and he's staying very much with the facts, for the most part with the facts, and then talking about his view of them. Tucker is just outlandish lies. He just has no regard to truth. And now it's already common, on Twitter, you could see a bunch of people bringing old Tucker videos versus the new ones. He changes his mind or his opinion or how he talks about things from a few months ago to now, from all the time. His mind his talking points are changing, and he just says lies that he himself clearly doesn't believe. So take, for example, in this conversation he had now famously with Nick Fuentes, he says how Israel has this belief that all the Palestinians are terrorists, and therefore you should kill all of them. And he's against that. He's a Christian, he's against categorizing groups by the fact that by their group, you gotta address each person individually. And Israel is treating all Palestinians as terrorists, women and kids, and so on. So that is so factually wrong. Every kid knows that Israel, before bombing anything, sends out pamphlets and makes phone calls and tries to, too much in my opinion, tries to warn them before. If Israel believes that, why would they do that? Also, you know how many Palestinian kids and women Israel saved in the Israeli hospitals while their parents are terrorists? More than that, I don't know if everyone knows. Yahya Sinwar, who is Mr. October 7th, Mr. October 7th himself, that's Yahya Sinwar, he had a brain tumor, and he got his life saved in an Israeli hospital. They took out the tumor. They did the full surgery. Obviously, he didn't pay for it, not a dime. Israel paid for the entire thing. But forget about the money. Israel saved one of the biggest leaders of Hamas. Before he was that famous, but he was still famous, part of Hamas, but Israel saved him. So that's the terrorist himself that Israel saved. And you're going to go out there and say that Israel believes that all Palestinians are terrorists and they should all be killed? Now, Tucker knows this. He knows this. But he's going to say it anyways, because he is just devoted to his lies. He'll just put the lie with Bibi walking all over the Middle East saying, I own Trump. He just goes night after night and just lies and brings on to show all these people who say that Israel treats Christians badly in Israel. Just such nonsense. Tucker's been to Israel. He knows that. So that's why he offends me much more, because It's slander. It's slander. And Nick Fuentes is a twisted opinion of a neo-Nazi, so to speak. And for some reason, I don't know, the slander offends me much more. The slander offends me much more. And I don't understand why are they... I heard a little clip with, what's his name, with the guy who owes $1 billion now, with the lawsuit. What's his name? The guy with the, get back to me. The guy with the lawsuit with the kids, with the shooting in the school. So he was saying how Bibi gotta go. Bibi gotta go. I have nothing against the Jews or even against Israel, but this government gotta go tonight. They gotta get rid of this government. First of all, what did Bibi do so wrong? I don't understand what they're talking about. Like, what do they have? What did this new right wing with the Israel derangement syndrome, what did they have? Oh, that's why he was defending himself. Alex Jones, that's what I'm talking about. So he's talking to Laura Loomer, and he's trying to say, no, I don't have Israel derangement syndrome. It's just Bibi and his government gotta go. I really don't have any coherent explanation to what they have against him. Furthermore, he is the equivalent of the Republican Party. Do they realize that? Do they realize that Bibi and the Likud is the Republicans, is the right wing, and any other government that he's going to get instead is going to be left-wing liberals who are the equivalent of the liberals in the United States? Why would Alex Jones and Tucker push to replace the Republicans in Israel with the Democrats in Israel, with the left wing, extremely left, extremely liberal, who hate Trump, now they like Trump because it works for them, but they hated Trump, they were pro-Biden, pro-Kamala. Why is this new right-wing movement that hates Israel, but they claim they don't, they only hate the Israel government? Why would they hate the right-wing government of Israel? I have no idea. Because he's bombing the Palestinians? Like, so you want the liberals in Israel who wouldn't bomb them? It's the same equivalent. It's like the same liberal, it's the same, how tough are you on Black Lives Matter, and how tough are you on immigration, and how tough are you on criminals in the street? And Antifa, that's the equivalent in Israel. And Bibi is more tough because he believes in safety, and the Likud and the right wing is on that same page, and anyone who would replace him would be from the left. Why is the right wing in America, the extreme right wing in America, advocating for the left in Israel? I really don't understand what's going on here, other than the hate of Jews, the hate of Israel. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on here. I really don't know. Which brings me to my next point. What is Tucker's motive? And then I'm going to address some of Nick's points. Because again, I feel like Nick he's making coherent points, but they're twisted, which could be addressed. Tucker is just spewing lies that he doesn't believe. Anyone who knows anything about what's going on the ground doesn't believe. But Tucker just has no problem. Slander and lies. So what is his motive? Now people say, money, Qatar, but that's pretty clearly not the case, because Tucker is very, very wealthy. Independently wealthy from his father, apparently, and between his Fox career and his show is doing very well now, independently, he doesn't need money from Qatar. And also, he's not so much about the money, Tucker. At least so it seems. Hard to know, because I thought Tucker was great until 2 years ago. So it's really hard to know, to be fair, but it really doesn't seem like that's the case. So what is the motive here? Now, one thing I think it's getting more and more evident is that Tucker is a Karen. He doesn't control his emotions. He has that famous weird laugh, and he just doesn't control his emotions. He's just like I remember in his debate with Ted Cruz. So Ted Cruz they were going back and forth whether Iran was trying to kill Trump or were they trying to kill politicians. So Tucker's like, if that's true, just nuke them. Just nuke them. Slow down. it could be true, but it could be also that we shouldn't nuke another country because they tried to assassinate our president. We don't nuke countries like that. He's a little bit unhinged. So Tucker's, let's just establish that. He's a little bit of an unhinged individual. That needs to be like just a basic framework. That doesn't explain the full story, but that is just a backdrop. But what is the motive? I have a theory that his father worked in the CIA. He always says his father worked in the government in Washington, D.C. I remember hearing and seeing and reading that his father worked in the CIA. So it is possible that he feels guilty about something that his father was involved in. And that just drives him crazy. And that just takes him to like unhinged places. He's like subconsciously in a life mission to fix his daddy issue with the fact that his daddy did things that he doesn't believe in or he thinks are bad. Again, it's all my theory based on these facts that his father did, I think pretty clearly work in the CIA. So he is trying to clean that up. Like you find that with people where their father or grandfather did something that they don't approve of, it just drives them a little crazy and they just are on overdrive to clean that up, to just be advocating something, this new world belief that they have and just doing all gung-ho in it. Like he is nonstop talking about Israel and Jews and whatever, and loyalty to America, so to speak, under America first. But he's just so devoted to this topic, so obsessed with this, and making all these lies, making up all these lies and that, just to justify his opinion here and having these lunatic guests on the show. Something about that. Now, side note, I don't know if people know this, but he grew up without a mother. His mother left when he was a child, a young child, or maybe I don't remember, a young teenager. I don't remember, I have to look it up. But at a very young age, his mother just left, just went to France or something. And his father raised him alone. And props to him and his brother, I think, for growing up pretty well. He did well in life and he became a decent human being, at least until now. Growing up without a mother, that must have been very tough. So he definitely should be proud of himself with that. But maybe it's a trauma, not like growing up without a mother trauma that's kicking in a late age. But I think it's more of that. Something that his father was involved in, being deep state, CIA, something like there that's like driving him crazy inside, and he needs to like cover it up internally, cover up his moral guilt for. It's usually these things are subconscious, obviously, but cover up his moral guilt for like his father. I don't know. His father did, I think, die 2-3 years ago, around that time. I feel like it has to do with that. I really feel like that's the closest theory that I could think of. Money, I don't think it is. It's not the money. So that's about Tucker. Now, back to some of Nick's points. Nick, so during this conversation with Tucker, again, so let's just go back to the main topic. I think the difference is that Nick is making points. Sometimes he just says things really to get people going. So the most outrageous things. And again, I have to be fair and say that I did not listen to that much of Nick. I've been exposed to Nick pretty recently, and I've heard about him before, but I didn't see that much of his content. So he could always surprise me with lies that he did say. But for the most part, from what I've been seeing in the last month or two and what I've been seeing from Tucker, is a very big difference. Nick is making points and Tucker, twisted points, but points, and Tucker is just low level, shallow, just lying with this emotional hysteria and always stating it with his rhetoric. His rhetoric is very much that's a fact, and all this drama. And it's just not intelligent. It's not. You're dealing with a Karen. Tucker is a Karen. Emotional, hysterical, non-factual liar who's just lashing out all his like, you know. And Nick is sitting there and stating facts in a very calm, articulate way. But he has a twisted worldview. Okay. After saying that, let's talk about some of Nick's points. So Tucker asked him to explain, like, really, what does he stand for? What does he really believe? Other than liking Stalin, which Nick mentioned in the middle, and Tucker couldn't handle that. What is that about? Liking Stalin from Nick's side. So that I don't know what it's about. No, clearly Nick is twisted and has something twisted. I would say maybe he's a Jew autistic, in a funny way. What does that mean? Meaning, like, there's something that he is brainy and he gets in his brain, but he doesn't get intuitively. Like, he's missing some common sense, some emotional intelligence that helps your brain understand and grasp reality in a way that's not only brainy and not only mathematical. So Nick is like missing something like that. So he's not understanding, like, it's just common sense behavior, normal human behavior, some stuff like that. But whatever. Let's talk about the point itself. So when Nick was trying to explain to Tucker his point, he was saying like this: Jews are very, very loyal. They're in exile. They have all this previous, being haunted and being prosecuted and executed and haunted everywhere in the world, and they're they're in diaspora for so many years, and now this homeland of theirs is like the only thing, like their safe haven that they're holding on to. So therefore, Jews in America are incapable of being really loyal to America first, because they're always going to have Israel first. That's his claim. So that's his whole point. He's saying Jews inherently are loyal to their Judaism, to their Jewish brothers, and he's saying to the mass Jewish nation, wherever they are, they're loyal to them, and they're loyal to Israel before America. And they're just incapable of that, of being differently, of being any way different. It's too strong. And he's not even against Jews being like that. He understands where the Jews are coming from. But at least I'm summarizing what he's saying on Tucker. Not like, I don't know what he said in other places. Who knows what he said about Jews? I didn't listen to that many hours of him. But that's what he's saying. So he's not even against that. He's just saying that it's unacceptable in America to have people who have that loyalty to something else first. That's his claim, which is coherent. But what is he missing? He's missing that in a democracy, you can't start judging people based on their intentions, based on their motives. What do you know what their motives are? So Nick should not be trusted on any of his policy opinions, because his policies are all stemming from how many clicks he's getting. And as many outrageous claims he's going to make, he's going to get more clicks. So he shouldn't be trusted. So anyone who has a social media big following should not be trusted, because they are looking for clicks. And they're going to say their policies just for clicks. And then if someone didn't grow up with enough money, he should not be trusted to go to politics, because they are just doing it for the money. So they're going to say anything that's going to get them elected. So they should not be trusted. And then if someone is very, very strongly Christian and pro-life, they should not be trusted, because they're not this is not supposed to be a religious country, although people who built it were Christian. Although there were a lot of Jews in the founding, they never mentioned that, how the Jews were very, very important and very integral in the founding of America, in the Civil War. Not in the Civil War, I mean in the American Revolution. The Jews were integral. They were part of it. There's famous Chaim Salomon, who's part of it. And there's a lot more of the Jewish involvement there. But the point is that the United States was not a religious country, right? Separation of religion and state. And someone who's Catholic is more loyal to the church than he's loyal to the country. So they should be banned. And that's what some liberals think, actually, that some Catholics should be banned from public discourse, from from policymaking because they're loyal to the church. And so on. You could just go and everyone and start talking about their motives, their inner motives, and judging their inner. And that's what happened to Nick himself. They banned him from flying. He was a non-fly list for a year. Why? Because they declared him dangerous because of his motives, because of it. In a normal free country, in a democracy, you cannot have that. You have to have clear policies, clear clear rules and laws, and anyone who obeys, anyone who listens, who follows the laws is okay, and anyone who doesn't is not okay. If everyone's going to start judging other people's motives and deciding based on what they think the other person's motives are, that they should be banned and they should be ostracized and not allowed to get involved in politics, that's just not going to work. That's just not a democracy. It's never going to work. Everyone's going to start banning each other. It's just not going to work. Like I just brought you 5 examples where everyone can start assuming what other people's motives are. So what should be the litmus test? You should see what actually are people doing wrong. First of all, no one should be banned like that, meaning unless they're doing something dangerous. If Nick is so right, let him go and get elected. That's what the booth is for. That's what you vote. That's what the votes are for. That's what democracy, that's what elections are for. Go and sell your ideas. Why start banning people because of their motives? And the influence and all that talk is they keep talking about censorship. That's censorship. Ban the people from donating, ban this and that influence, all the shadowy influence. You influence differently. If you really, that's the free market of ideas. You sell your ideas differently, which he is selling, but why is he calling for other people to be banned and whatever? Okay. But moreover, the main point is you need to show, not to keep judging people's motives, to show how they are hurting, how they the Israel first are actually hurting America. And you can't find any instance like that. That's completely made up. And they try. So they try with the fact that Israel got America into the Iraq war, which is completely false. Completely false. Israel had no intention of getting America into the Iraq war, and there's zero evidence of that. Zero evidence. And when they try to bring the evidence, they're very much disputed. There's this Dave Smith, who's a big into that theory, just got himself knocked out by this other guy. I forgot his name. In this recent debate, who completely knocked him out on this claim that Israel got America into the Iraq war. But really, if you just know a little bit what's going on, it's obvious, it's self-evident that that's not the case. Israel does not have a strong influence in America when it comes to international policy. It does not at all. And I'll prove it to you. But let me just say again my point. My point is, motives, you cannot judge. Everyone could start judging each other's motives. That's just not a tool that you can use. You have to show how Israel is actually a bad influence in America, right? Did they actually do? Did the Israel first? Did the Americans who are the Jewish people who are Israel first? Did they actually affect policy in a way that harmed America? That's what he's claiming, and I don't see where it is. So where is he claiming that Israel, the Jews, affected American policy? Where is he claiming? Again, where is he claiming that the Jews affected American policy? So he's saying that the Jews, the Israel first people, the people who were loyal to Israel first, got America into a war with Iraq. If that's the case, that the pro-Israel people have such effect on American policy, why is it that the American embassy was never moved to Jerusalem until Trump came around? Trump is clearly more America first than Obama, than Biden. Okay, Biden came after, but then Obama, then Bush, Clinton, the first Bush, right? So why is it that all those people who are bought and paid for by AIPAC and are so affected by Israel first, and they went into the war in Iraq only because of Israel, and they got involved in the Middle East only because of Israel? So Israel is totally controlling them. So why did they never move the embassy to Jerusalem? And why Trump, who's the only one who's somewhat at least America first, right? Even, Nick Fuentes and Dave Smith and Tucker would agree that Trump is more America first. Why did he actually move the embassy to Jerusalem and do the Abraham Accords, and all the other ones are completely controlled by Israel? Didn't do that. It was famously known. I grew up in Israel. It was known. The deep state in America, the State Department, which was basically until Trump came around, and including the first term of Trump, the deep state, the State Department was always very anti-Israel. Always very anti-Israel. Israel did not have control. Israel barely they were always anti. They were always actually doing the opposite as much as possible. Within America was a friendly country to Israel, but as much as possible, wherever they could sneak in their animosity towards Israel, they did. That's what it was. American policy coming from the deep state, coming from the State Department all the years. They were anti-Israel. And Israel didn't manage to move America an inch. America's involvement in Israel was always forcing them and pushing Israel to do peace deals with the Arabs, which Israel was reluctant to do. Israel was not Clinton dragging Israel to sign peace deals, and especially dragging Bibi. You're saying Bibi is the one who got America into a war with Iraq, and you see how all the presidents were trying to force peace, including George W. Bush, and definitely Obama, trying to force peace down Netanyahu's throat, clearly, evidently, and with John Kerry, I think, who was the minister at the time. So he was he was the Marco Rubio at the time, John Kerry, and everyone saw they were trying to force peace down Israel's throat. So how does that coexist with Israel being so powerful and controlling America? So basically what I'm trying to say is, you do not see, so Israel did not get America into the Iraq war. What else? So then Nick has this other original claim, this other unique idea. The pro-immigrant, the leftist, liberal, lunatic pro-immigrant policies are coming from Jews. It's all coming from Jews, from the rich Jewish donors, the leftist Jewish donors. It's all coming from them. And why is that? Because the Jews want to feel comfortable in America. They want to feel comfortable in America. They're a little, foreign. They're a little uncomfortable. They're Jews. They stand out. And after all, what happened to them with the persecution, in Europe and everywhere. So they want to be comfortable. So in order to be comfortable, they want the country to be more immigrant-oriented, less cohesive, less white. And that way, it's going to be more normal to be, immigration and to be foreign and whatever. It's going to be more of a melting pot, and Jews are going to be more comfortable. Again, it's a coherent claim. Different than Tucker, these are not outlandish lies. It's a coherent claim, but it's not true. It's not true. It's twisted and not true. So, first, just from this very conversation that Nick had with Tucker the other night, Nick himself is saying that the one that got him on the anti-immigration thing was Mark Levine. He quoted Mark Levine saying that this line came out then that America soon will not be majority white. And Mark Levin is saying, is that a good thing? That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. So here you have a very proud Jew actually being totally anti-immigration. Dennis Prager is anti-immigration, illegal immigration. You have, what's his name? Miller, not Jason Miller, but the names are Alex Miller? No, not Alex Miller. Whatever his name is, it's going to come back to me. Stephen Miller in the White House. He is the policymaker. This term and the 2016 term, and Trump 45 and Trump 47, being the policymaker when it comes to controlling immigration. The biggest one, Stephen Miller. The borders are shut right now. The person to thank most of all in the Trump administration is Stephen Miller. And he's a Jew. So you have plenty of Jews who are totally anti-immigration. So what? So you have Jews on that side, Jews on that side. So you'll say, yeah, well, but there's plenty of Jewish organizations, ADL and this and that, who are totally pro-immigration. So basically you have Jews on that side, Jews on that side. So you have Christians on that side and Christians on that side. So why are Jews called out for being on that side? Jews are just effective everywhere. You have Jews. You have a Jewish lady who donated $1 billion to, I don't remember which medical institution it was, to this university to give all the students free. Their entire their entire medical school is going to be free. A lot of Jews are activists. They're very passionate about their beliefs, and they're all on it. So there are people on the left who are doing the left's bidding, and there are people on the right who are doing the right's bidding. And you have Adelson on the right, who is advocating for right-wing agendas as well as pro-Israel, and you have people on the left who are advocating for that. But you haven't seen. But you have everyone. So basically, it's just, why are Jews different than anyone else? You could find Nancy Pelosi on this side, and you could find J.D. Vance on this side. Like, why are you calling out the Jews? They're on both sides, is what I'm trying to say. So, but yeah. So both of these claims. His first claim about the Jews being loyal to Israel first, you cannot call out, you cannot start judging people's motives. You don't know people's motives, and you cannot start getting into people's psyches. And you have not found any evidence of the Israel first crowd, that you call them Israel first, doing any harm to America, doing anything that's not in America's interest. That's one. Two, about the immigration thing, you have Jews on all sides of the aisle. Clearly, you have what's his name, Michael Savage. He raised generations of conservatives. It's funny how Nick Fuentes was raised on Mark Levin, on Dennis Prager, and then the one who found who actually gave him his first boost, who basically started his career, is Cassie Dillon. All Jews. Started him off. I don't know, is that like a Murphy law, that like you're gonna spit at the people who started? I know that he has this whole thing with Cassie Dillon, and then she's tried to bury him, that's what he claims, but there's no doubt that these are the people that started him off. Same thing with Candace, by the way. Candace was started off by Dennis Prager and the Harwitz, whatever that foundation is called. These are the people who started her off. And then Ben Shapiro gave her a platform too. I don't know. There's something about spitting at the people who platformed you. Something twisted there. But on the actual claim also, that Israel first. Yeah, so on that claim, back to his point. So again, we spoke about the Iraq. Israel did not get America into war in Iraq. But really, I don't see anything in the policies. Where does the Israel first policy negate the America first policy? It really doesn't. I don't know. You're loyal. It sounds very tribal. I don't know how to say that word, but it just sounds very, I don't want to say like Germany, really, from your motives. You're not part of us. What's wrong with loving them? What's wrong with loving Israel? Like, I don't understand. What's wrong with that? Why does it have to be? No, you have to be those who. There's like a judgment of everyone's heart. Got to go through like a test. Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes test. If your heart is fully in America first, the way they view it. Where does supporting Israel in any way, shape, and form go against supporting America's interests? So there comes their libertarian isolationist view that America should not be involved at all in the Middle East. Just butt out, let whatever happens, and just butt out. That is nothing to do with Israel. That is just a conversation about libertarians versus conservatives. Libertarians believe in isolationism, and conservatives believe that libertarians are childish, are being ignorant and childish, thinking that if you just bury your head in the sand and ignore the dangers of the world, they're just going to go away. No. The conservatives believes, and I believe, and Israel believes, and Jews who dealt with this, who have to face the jihadi Islamic world, they know that if you just look to the other side, they're just going to get stronger. That's not going to help you. So that's the belief of the conservatives, and the belief of the people who are on Israel's side and believe that America should be on Israel's side, is because Israel is facing the same battle. You have jihadi Muslims who believe that all Jews and all Christians are heretics, and they have to all be beholden to the Sharia law. They all have to come around to their worldview, and they believe that they should be violent in the way to achieve that goal. So some are actually violent, and some believe that one day they're going to find other means to do it. But it's a very, very common extreme Muslim belief system. And you got to be an idiot to, and Alex Jones also admits that he's very concerned about the Muslims in Texas, and and what's it called? And Trump did the Muslim ban in the first term because he knows that there's a problem in Islam. There's a big problem with this terrorism, and belief that the Western culture is heresy, and they have to change it, and they have to dominate, and they have to take it over with their fanatic jihadi religion. So if we're pointing it out, it's not because we're pro-Israel. It's because we're pro-Western civilization. We're pro the same things that Israel stands for. Israel and America are aligned in their fight against this issue. That's not so hard to understand. You don't have to get money from AIPAC to understand that there is an Islamic problem, a terrorism, and that's why was Trump so pro-Israel? How did they explain? Let me ask Nick like this. How do you explain the fact that Trump, who should be the most America first out of all presidents, like I said before, even if he's not enough, like you say, he still should be more America first than the other presidents. He did run on that platform. He actually taught Nick what America first means. So he definitely was more America first than the other presidents. So why was he more pro-Israel than everyone else? He was by far much more pro-Israel. The Abraham Accords, moving the embassy, getting out of the Iran deal, killing one of the Iranian terrorists, and totally pro-Israel. Remember with Nick Haley in the UN and the Golan Heights and this and that, he was totally pro-Israel. Why? He should be less. He's less, he needs AIPAC less. How do you explain that the president that's the most America first was the most Israel first? How do you explain that? That's because Trump understands. He's just a common sense individual, and he understands that an America first's interest is to stabilize the Middle East. And to stabilize the Middle East is to tell the Muslims, stop the terrorism against Israel. Israel is a fact. Israel is a fact, and stop fighting it. When Trump went, right away when he was elected, at the beginning of 2017, he went to Saudi Arabia and gathered all the Arab nations and told them, listen, terrorism gotta stop. Israel is a fact. Just live with it. If you want to talk to us like human beings, if you want to be involved in so basically, the way Trump says it, the way Trump, from an America first standpoint, Trump goes over to jihadi Muslim countries, or just Muslim countries that have some jihadi elements in them, and tells them like this: I want to treat you like normal human beings who want to succeed in life, who share somewhat of the same values as us, and we can be partners and prosper together. But here's your litmus test. Your litmus test is, how do you treat Israel? Because if your religious fanaticism is stronger than your Western belief system, then your value of life, of just prosperity, and just succeeding in life, and just, and being in peace with your neighbors, just being a normal civilized country, what's stronger? Is your religious fanatic belief stronger, or is your want for life and prosperity stronger? Your Western culture, somewhat. What's stronger? Israel's your litmus test. If you could put the fight against Israel behind you, if you can move on, that means you are a normal nation, you're a normal country. Welcome, you're welcome to do business with America. We're going to be friends. If you cannot, that means that I'm worried about you too. If your hatred towards Israel is stronger than your ability to just put it aside and just chill and just be a normal nation, that means you're fanatic. If you're fanatic, I'm worried about you too. I don't want to be friends with you. That was the view. So that is an America First view of, we don't want to deal with terrorist nations. We don't want to deal with terrorist countries. We don't want to deal with the Islam, the jihadi Islam ideology. And Israel is just the test. So basically, an America First president understands Trump, with his common sense, America First president, he invented the words America First. And he understands, cut that out. You just have to cut that out. You just have to be normal. And Israel is a fact, and just drop it. Just drop it. And that was the brilliance of what he did with the Abraham Accords. First, and with the moving the embassy to Jerusalem. It was first, we're moving the embassy to Jerusalem. That's first. If you could deal with that, then we have what to talk about, and that worked. Finally, they had the 4 countries coming along, and a lot of them were about to come along after he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, because that is a litmus test. That's what you have to tell. That's how you test these jihadists. You test them with that. With, can they handle and live in peace with people from other religions, with people that their religion, so to speak, or like the extreme version of their religion, disagrees with. If they could take that, they are welcome to the nations. But whether you like my long explanation or not, that's a fact, that the most America First president was the most Israel First president. And that's because he saw them aligned. He saw them aligned, and you didn't see America being affected in a negative way, in any way, shape, or form. Like, what happened? What wrong was done to America by Trump doing this? What wrong? What went wrong by him doing that? Only good happened. Only good. So if this is all AIPAC, trying to affect things, which clearly it wasn't, because Trump was not that affected by AIPAC. AIPAC is like more in Congress and things, and this is Trump was not affected. He wasn't so beholden to Congress or anything like that. So show me where it drove America wrong. So that's that. But there's another point here that he's really causing a lot of damage. In any case, when you're basically calling out the Jews, which is what Nick is doing, and also Tucker, to be honest. Tucker claims not to, but Tucker's doing that worse than Nick. You are making the Jews afraid. You are making them feel haunted, unwelcomed in America, and you're not helping America. If history shows anything, between Spain or Europe or later, you're really doing a disservice to America by making the Jews feel unwelcome here. The Jews helped America prosper, and if you're going to make the Jews feel haunted and hide, you're hurting America. It's not hard to see. It's really any historian, anyone with eyes could see that Jews added so much value and to America, and you're just working hard to make that go away, and it's really a shame. You're going to kick the Jews out. You're going to bring more Muslims in. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to destroy America. You're really going to destroy America, all in the name of your supposed America first. So I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope we wake up to these grifters, and I feel like there's a better chance that Nick will wake up and open up his eyes, because he is engaging in dialogue and real dialogue somewhat, versus Tucker, who's just not interested in the truth. He's just like a Karen spewing his garbage. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents for today. Thank you for listening.